It took 25 years to build the world's most beloved entertainment empire, and it only took 6 months for it to collapse. Netflix, a name once synonymous with freedom, creativity, and rebellion, is now associated with greed, chaos, and loss. In 2022, over $200 billion evaporated, millions of people canceled their subscriptions, and the whole world was stunned. A global icon collapses under the weight of its own success. How can a company that once redefined how we watch movies forget how to hold the world's attention? How can a platform that once gave us the freedom to choose now become a symbol of fatigue and disillusionment? This is not just the story of a failed business, but it's a story about how value is defeated by profit and about how a cultural revolution loses its own soul. To understand why an empire that once captivated the world collapsed, we need to rewind to the beginning, from a $40 fine to one of the greatest rises and falls in modern business history. Every revolution begins with something small. With Netflix, it all started with a $40 late fee. In 1997 in California, a businessman named Reed Hastings left a Blockbuster store with a bill that annoyed him, a $40 fine for forgetting to return the Apollo 13 tape. On the way home, in a mix of frustration and curiosity, he came up with a simple yet fateful question. Why couldn't renting movies be as easy as buying things online? That idea, which sounds ordinary at first, sparked a global consumer revolution. The co-founder was Mark Randolph, and they began experimenting with sending DVDs through the mail, a newly emerging format that was more compact than VHS and not prone to damage. On the first day, they sent a DVD to their own home to see if it would break. When the disc arrived intact, Hastings knew, we have just found the future. And so, Netflix was born with an incredibly human vision to bring cinema right to your home, eliminating all the hassle. No late fees, no long queues, no need to leave the sofa. It's not just a movie rental model, it's a declaration of freedom and respect for personal time. Customers quickly fell in love with Netflix because of its fairness and intelligence. Instead of penalizing late returns, Netflix rewards loyalty. Instead of noisy advertising, they let the Cinematch algorithm, a rudimentary AI-powered movie recommendation system, learn your viewing preferences. That was a time when every email from Netflix gave the feeling that someone truly understood you. In 2000, Netflix offered to sell itself to Blockbuster for $50 million. The answer is a burst of laughter. 6 years later, Blockbuster went bankrupt, and Netflix, with 6 million subscribers and over $1 billion in revenue, has officially become a symbol of evolution. However, it was at that very moment that a small seed of risk was sown, and sadly, no one noticed. Netflix began to believe that everything could be solved by algorithms, that convenience was the ultimate weapon. But convenience doesn't always equate to commitment, because people don't just want ease, they also want to be connected. The bigger it gets, the more Netflix relies on convenience rather than its connection with customers. That was the first warning sign, creeping into the initial halo, a very small crack, but one that would spread over time. And then as 2007 dawned, Netflix was preparing to make its next great leap, streaming over the internet, something that would send them soaring to unprecedented heights and also lead them to the brink of arrogance. If the 2000s were the era when Netflix learned how to get movies to your doorstep, the 2010s were when they learned how to put the whole world at your fingertips. In 2007, Netflix launched the Watch Now feature, which allowed users to watch movies directly over the internet. Initially, it was just a small test with 5,000 titles, while the DVD library had 85,000 titles. But in just a few years, broadband technology exploded, and Netflix understood that if the future is online, we will be the first to get there. From red envelopes through the post office, Netflix moved on to computer screens, then TVs, and finally smartphones. In 2008, they partnered with Roku to release the first $99 streaming box, opening the door to the era of disc-free movies. Soon after, the Red N logo appeared every place: TiVo, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, Apple TV. By 2010, the seemingly impossible had happened. Streaming revenue surpassed that of DVDs. Global movie-watching habits have officially been redefined. Netflix is no longer just a technology company, They are symbols of digital freedom, the Apple of the entertainment industry, a borderless content empire. From California, they expanded into Canada, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. One account, one click, a world opens up. The audience was immersed in an unprecedented experience. No ads, no limits, no waiting. The phrase binge watching movies continuously, has become a new cultural keyword, closely associated with Netflix. Globally, people speak the same language. Next episode? In 2013, Netflix confidently took another bold step. From being a mere content distributor, they became a true creator. House of Cards was released and immediately shook Hollywood. No television channel dares to release an entire season of a show at once, but Netflix does. It's not just a release strategy, but a cultural statement. We believe audiences deserve the choice of how they experience the story. Netflix's growth rate at that time was unimaginable. In just 6 years, Netflix has gone from a small startup to a global leader, valued at over $300 billion, present in 190 countries, and has changed the content consumption behavior of the entire world. For 10 consecutive years, subscribers have grown steadily, surpassing 150 million global users. Tens of billions of dollars are poured into film production, with over 700 original works released each year, a number no other studio has dared to dream of. Netflix became the Apple of entertainment, the Google of emotions, the Facebook of habits. The stock increased tenfold in just 5 years. Wall Street called them immortal unicorns, a business that couldn't fail. Reed Hastings is hailed as the Steve Jobs of the film industry, and Netflix, a borderless empire. But at that peak, small cracks began to appear. As algorithms gradually replace humans and data gradually replaces emotions, Netflix began to move away from the intimacy that was once the soul of the brand. Success always blinds people. And in the intoxication of victory, Netflix didn't realize it was gradually forgetting the reason audiences loved them in the first place. In 2011, Netflix was at the peak of its glory. They just surpassed DVD, led the streaming sector, and were hailed by Wall Street as the darling of the digital age. But it was also at that moment that Reed Hastings, the founder and CEO, made a decision that completely shocked millions of customers. Netflix announced, "We will spin off our DVD by mail service into a new company called Qwikster. This means users have to pay 2 fees and log into 2 different accounts to view the very content they used to get in a single package." No one understands the reason, no one feels respected, and the internet exploded. The forums are filled with sarcasm. Qwikster? It was so fast that I canceled my subscription in 10 seconds. In just 1 quarter, Netflix lost over 800,000 subscribers. The stock price plummeted 75% from $300 to just $77. Market assets evaporated by billions of dollars. Reed Hastings had to publicly apologize on video, admitting he had misjudged customer sentiment. But what's more frightening isn't the numbers, but the moment Netflix loses its audience's attention. Qwikster is the classic example of corporate complacency, a company that believes customers will accept anything just because they are the leader. People don't leave because it's expensive. They leave because it feels unfair. And that's what Netflix forgot. In their efforts to separate services and maximize profits, they forgot about the seamless experience, the very thing that made millions fall in love with them in the first place. Yes, Netflix has corrected its mistake. Qwikster was shut down after only 22 days of existence, one of the fastest failures in tech history. The company is gradually recovering after 2 years, but the psychological scars remain. Perhaps this isn't just a slip-up, but a neglected prophecy. A tiny crack between proud peaks serves as a reminder that all success is fragile when people believe they are infallible. Every empire has a moment of decline. With Netflix, that moment came when the world thought they were immortal. In 2020, the world entered a crisis called COVID-19. People are confined to their homes, and the screen becomes the only window to the world. And there, Netflix shines brighter than ever. In just 2 years of the pandemic, they attracted over 54 million additional subscribers, and their revenue and stock soared to a peak, reaching a valuation of $306 billion. Wall Street calls this the gold stock of the social distancing era. Netflix, a symbol of connection and isolation, became humanity's companion during its darkest days. They entertained the world when the world stood still, but that light might just be a spark before the storm. As the world reopened, people turned off their TVs and went outside. The truth revealed, Netflix has reached its peak. In 2022, for the first time in over a decade, they announced a loss of subscribers. 200,000 people left in the first quarter alone, and they predicted a further loss of 2 million in the next quarter. The stock plummeted 35% overnight, wiping out $50 billion in market value. By the end of the year, Netflix had lost over $200 billion in market capitalization, one of the fastest price crashes in entertainment industry history. The press is calling this the Netflix apocalypse. Investors are furious, users are disappointed, and for the first time, the name Netflix no longer evokes a sense of excitement, but rather doubt. Many users expressed, they raised the price, but the content is worse. I have to pay for 4 different platforms to watch everything I like. Netflix used to help me stop pirating. Now I'm pirating again. Netflix is probably not inferior to Disney, HBO, or Amazon, and they lost because of themselves, because they lost what once made them great, their understanding of people. They forget that audiences don't just want to watch content, they want to feel respected. From a business perspective, this is a classic MBA lesson. Profit-first thinking, putting profit above core values. In the intoxication of growth, Netflix raised prices, cut costs, and forced content to follow data rather than emotion. Every click is optimized, but every heart is drifting further away. They turned storytelling into spreadsheet logic, and so the empire built on dreams began to crumble because of the very numbers they worshipped. In business, one can recover from a loss, but once trust is lost, they never come back. A brand doesn't collapse when it loses revenue. It collapsed when trust was lost. After a shocking fall, Netflix found itself facing daunting numbers. $200 billion evaporated from its market capitalization, 200,000 subscribers disappeared in just one quarter, and over 2 million users left in the following months. But behind those numbers is a wave of emotions that no statistic can measure. The whole world is speaking out. On social media, under the videos, thousands of comments poured in, like an indictment from the very people who once loved them the most. The comments kept coming. They used to save me from TV commercials. Now they're putting ads back in. I'm willing to pay if I think it's worth it. But now it's gone. Netflix doesn't understand me anymore. I feel like I'm just a stream of data. Disney Plus is the new home for my family. Netflix is just an old habit now. From those words, a truth emerges. Netflix is not losing because of technology, nor is it losing because of competitors. They lost because they lost the emotional connection, the very thing that made millions call them by the affectionate name My Netflix. The audience left not because they were bored with the film, but because they felt betrayed, because the brand, once a symbol of freedom, is now behaving like a soulless corporation. Netflix was once famous for its ease. $8 a month, no ads, no late fees. But by 2022, the price in the US had increased to nearly 16 months, while the amount of worthwhile content had noticeably decreased. The audience isn't angry because it's expensive. They're angry because they don't feel respected. I'm willing to pay, but make me feel like it's worth it. For consumers, fairness is more important than convenience. Netflix has forgotten that perceived value is the true measure of loyalty, not short-term revenue. This is a classic example of value disequilibrium. When a brand increases its financial value without a corresponding increase in emotional value. When this balance is tipped, the user is no longer a customer, but becomes someone who is exploited. But the price is just the tip of the iceberg. Netflix once amazed the world with its diversity, films from every country, every genre, every language. But then, the very strategy of producing everything for everyone turned them into a giant content factory. In 2021 alone, Netflix released over 700 originals, but less than 10% of them were highly rated. The audience feels there's too much, but there's nothing to see. The phenomenon of content fatigue has emerged, a weariness in choosing. Netflix seems to have fallen into the trap of meaningless growth. equating quantity with influence. The company forgot a core principle: more content, more connection. Sometimes less but right is far more powerful than something empty. Additionally, changing the operational method to the ban on password sharing also made many viewers feel uncomfortable. Because for a whole decade, Netflix encouraged users to share accounts as a form of natural marketing. They used to be proud of the slogan, "Love is sharing a password." But then by 2023, they themselves turned that into a violation. The company began locking accounts and requiring additional fees for freeloaders. Users feel betrayed by the very brand that once nurtured them. From a symbol of freedom, Netflix has become a controller. Although this may be a financially sound policy, it seems completely wrong emotionally. When brands tax emotions, they lose something that cannot be bought back: trust. And most notably, Netflix no longer holds a monopoly. At its peak, Netflix boasted the largest content library on the planet, from Marvel and Pixar to Friends, The Office, and Harry Potter. But then the big players like Disney, Warner Bros., and NBC Universal realized, why should we give Netflix content when we can create our own platforms? And so Disney pulled all of its IP back to Disney+. HBO launched Max, Amazon poured money into Prime Video. In just 2 years, Netflix lost nearly 40% of its A-list content library. Users feel that Netflix is no longer the place for everything. Netflix fell into the disintermediation trap, being turned into a competitor by its former partners. They don't control strategic assets, and when they lose content, they also lose the reason for people to stay. After all, you've probably realized viewers aren't leaving because other services are better. They're leaving because their relationship with Netflix no longer feels meaningful. Technology, price, content, everything can be replaced. But the feeling of being understood, once lost, it can never be regained. Netflix has changed the way the world watches movies, but in their pursuit of numbers, they forgot the reason the world wanted to watch in the first place. After more than 2 decades, the Netflix story is not just a record of a tech company. It's a mirror reflecting an entire era, where people run faster than their emotions, and data becomes the measure of everything, including loyalty. Netflix once started with a very human idea, bringing cinema closer to viewers. But then, in pursuit of infinite growth, they gradually lost the most important thing: their connection with people. They forget that all technology, no matter how intelligent, is meaningless if it can no longer touch the heart. Profit is oxygen, but purpose is the heart. When a company prioritizes sales over ideals, it may get rich in the short term, but it will become poor in trust. Netflix once lived on the dream of freeing audiences from constraints, and then they forgot that very promise when they turned freedom into a commodity. No one destroys a dream unless it's the creator themselves. Netflix knows what you watch, when you watch it, and even for how long. But they don't know why you're watching. They turn storytelling into behavioral science, and in the process of optimization, they inadvertently strip the experience of its soul. Algorithms can suggest suitable movies, but only humans can tell a story that makes us cry. Technology can be copied, capital can be bought, but trust and emotion, they can only be built. When creativity is detached from emotion, it becomes a content production line. And when a brand loses its soul, all innovation is just an empty echo amidst the noise. Expanding the market, adding users, increasing revenue, it's all easy. But staying true to your values while growing up, that's the real challenge. Netflix has achieved every number they ever dreamed of, only to realize that growth can't save a lost soul. Now Netflix still exists, no longer the dominant king, but a giant relearning how to listen. They are redefining themselves slowly, carefully, as if knowing that every fall contains an opportunity to get back on track. If you ever thought Netflix's story was over, think again, because perhaps this isn't the end, but the opening lesson for a new chapter, where humans and purpose find each other again. If you find this journey thought-provoking, please comment your thoughts below. Do you think Netflix can find its soul again? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as this is just a part of the Business Empires Unfolded series, where we decode the MBA lessons hidden within each empire. This video is made for analytical, academic, and educational purposes only and does not represent any financial statements, stock, or investment advice. Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next videos.